Hey beautiful people, it's Misko here. Did you know the global design services market is going to reach $249 billion by 2022? So if you haven't thought about getting into freelancing as a creative or designer, you are going to miss out on a massive opportunity. So in this video, I'm going to break down 5 very practical steps for you to get started as a creative or designer. So let's get right into it, guys. So the very first thing that you need to make sure is to have the right mindset. And I know a lot of people talk about this, but I really want to get tactical with some of the insights I'm going to give you. So when you are first starting out as a freelancer and you're thinking about it and you really don't know if this is the right decision to make, hands down, freelancing is the perfect side hustle for a junior or senior designer. The main reason for freelancing is the perfect side hustle is because this allows you to create an additional income stream. Who does not want an additional income stream? Now, the second reason why it is the perfect side hustle for juniors and seniors, it allows you to further refine and gain more experience within your own comfort zone. When you are a freelancer, you are your own boss. So you don't need to turn to anyone for any sort of approval. You make the decisions and you can allow yourself to grow as much as you want. So if you're thinking about it, this is the time to make that leap. Now, the second thing you need to make sure that you have right in terms of mindset is understanding what design services you are going to offer potential customers and who are those customers going to be. Now, let's be realistic. If you are a junior designer and you've only had 1 or 2 years experience, you can't expect yourself to be working on a freelance contract with companies like Apple or Microsoft. You have to be realistic and see which companies are the low-hanging fruits where you can get your foot in the door, and you need to define that yourself first. And over the years, as you get more and more experience and more exposure, then you can start moving up the ranks. Now, when it comes to services, don't try to be the jack of all trades where you do branding, graphic, illustrations, UI, UX, and everything. Because when you start to come out as a freelancer, you are ultimately running a business, and people want to hire people who are good at their specific trades and skill sets. Now, if you spread yourself too thin, you're going to become a jack of all trades and you're not going to have a niched and specialized skill set that you can charge a premium for moving forward. So make sure you understand what design services you are going to serve and who they are going to serve for. Then, in terms of your portfolio, if you're a designer and you don't have a portfolio just yet, I have broken down 3 tiers in terms of solutions that you can use to build your very first design portfolio. So tier 1 would be a custom built design portfolio where you code it yourself. Oh, and by the way, if you appreciate the fact that I have created slides into a practical 5-step process to help you get started as a freelance designer, then please gently smash that like button because that will really help the channel grow. And if you haven't realized, I am releasing a full freelance course and I have left a link in the description. So if you want to learn more about it, feel free to check it out. Now, obviously not everyone can code, so Webflow and WordPress would be hands down my preferences in terms of creating your very first design portfolio. And I'm gonna let you know why right after. Now, tier 2 is Squarespace and Wix, and then tier 3 is Dribbble and Behance. Now, if you ask me, how would I structure these in terms of priorities? So ultimately, if we don't think about the platforms themselves, if you think about the customer, what does the customer want to see? What does a potential client want to see? They want to make sure that 1, you are reliable, that you are trustworthy, 3, you have the relevant skills, and 4, they want to learn a little bit more about you before they actually contact you. And if you empathize with that and you put yourself in the customer's shoes and imagine yourself wanting to hire someone, these are exactly the things that you would want to look for. So make sure when you think about your design portfolio, use the platforms that allow you and enable you to tell a great story visually and through content. Allow you to upload case studies, allow you to tell a little bit more about yourself, showcase photos and videos about yourself, really create trust and transparency into who you are. So once you've understand that, you can see that Webflow and WordPress really enable you to do that. And if you say that you were too lazy to go and design something from scratch, you can see here, you can download and buy any sort of templates to get you started right away. So there are no excuses for why you can't utilize one of these platforms to get started right now. Then I would say tier 2 is Squarespace and Wix. They have the same features as Webflow and WordPress, but I do find them quite limiting and they don't have the best experience as well. But they allow you to tell a compelling story with a lot of customizations. So that's why they're tier 2. In terms of tier 3, Dribbble and Behance. you have to have one of these accounts. The reason being is because it allows you to showcase your work, but it also allows you to attract a lot of potential clients, because a lot of potential clients are actually browsing Behance and Dribbble for designers for their project. So when you have your own portfolio that could be hosted on Webflow, also have your Dribbble account or your Behance account where you can continuously showcase your work as well. And this will allow you to attract more and more clients in the background. So once you've got your design portfolio ready, make sure you include these 5 key pages on your design portfolio, such as Webflow and WordPress. The reason is because, like I said, when a customer lands on your design portfolio, they don't just want to see a photo of you. They don't want to see just 2 case studies. They want to see who you are, can they trust you, are you reliable, do you have the experience to fulfill their needs. Now, the homepage, the about page, the case studies, the testimonials, and the contact page really helps answer all those questions for the client. Now, if you haven't seen me review design portfolios, make sure to gently smash that link above, because I review 4 UX design portfolios that I genuinely believe put the designer's best foot forward to really attract clients. So make sure to watch that video if you haven't. But to quickly summarize, you want to make sure that your homepage is compelling. Have a photo of yourself, showcase some of your case studies, have a bit of a blurb about who you are, and then that links into deeper pages where you have a page dedicated to about yourself. Have a large photo of yourself, bring through photos of yourself working out and about, because this builds a relationship and trust signals for who you are. So the biggest mistake is to hide behind your website and not let the potential client understand who you are or even see you, because really when someone is able to see your face, it immediately builds trust between the both of you. Then you want a page dedicated to all your case studies, and I would say 3 case studies is a minimum. You want to make sure you have at least 6 relevant case studies depending on what design discipline that you are trying to exercise. So if you are a UX designer, make sure you have at least 3 UI and then 3 UX case studies to showcase so you can put your best foot forward. And then one page that a lot of designers I notice miss out on is the testimonials page. Why would you hide them on a single page 2 levels deep in a case study? Make sure you pull out all your case studies and put them on an actual page, so when someone lands on your website, they are only 1 click away from hearing all the great things about you. Don't make it so difficult for all your potential clients to find the great words about you. Then obviously you want the contact us page. And one thing that I talk about in all my design reviews is, instead of putting forward a contact page, potentially you can reword the contact word to get a free proposal, because who does not want a free proposal? Now, one simple tip, if you do have a Dribbble or Behance account, when you're uploading your work, make sure to always, in the description, add a CTA. Utilize your design shots as advertisements. When someone clicks on your design work and they're taking a look at it, make sure in the description you have clear CTAs about we're taking on new work, new projects, feel free to get in touch. It's easy to overlook these small details, but remember, there are lots of potential clients who are browsing the internet, looking at your work, looking at my work, and looking to hire a designer for a project. Now, if you don't actively put forward that you are taking on new projects, they might assume that you're too busy, they might assume that you might not reply. There are lots of different factors which cause them to churn. In other words, don't contact you. So make sure you actively put your best foot forward. Then in terms of your personal brand, now that you've got your design portfolio, you want to start focusing on the personal brand. Now, the one thing that you want to focus on is having a consistent portrait photo across all your platforms. Now, whether you use Dribbble, Behance, you use LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever social platforms you use, whatever platforms you use, make sure you have a consistent profile photo. So you will notice that on my LinkedIn, my profile photo is the same on my YouTube, which is the same on my Instagram, which is the same on my Twitter, which is the same in my newsletter. It is all very, very consistent. You also want to have a very consistent color palette and also messaging. So if you can see in my LinkedIn banner, I say a decade of turning startups into superheroes. Now, if you go to mizcomedia.com, you will also see we help turn startups into superheroes. Make sure your value proposition, your messaging are consistent throughout all your different social platforms, because if a potential client lands on any of them, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and they know exactly what you do. Now, I understand that there are a lot of different social platforms that you can build a personal brand on. Now, how should you think about this? I like to boil it down to investing into 2 social platforms to really get yourself out there and to build that brand awareness about your personal brand. So the way that I think about it is one should be dedicated to acquisition and one is dedicated to retention. So what do I mean by that? You want to dedicate one of the social platforms to acquire potential leads, and then you want to use another one to retain those potential leads. What do I mean by that? Is to nurture them. So someone who might not be ready to hire you right away, you want to make sure that you have a platform where you can continue educating them, you can continue sharing great work, sharing insights to really warm them up until you warm them up so you can move them from a warm lead into a hot lead so they actually contact you and want to hire you right away. So how do we break that down? Now, in the next section, I'm gonna walk you through which platforms you should go through. But in terms of acquiring and retaining the potential leads, you need to make sure that you are active on your social platforms. So if you're thinking, what can I do to really be active? What can I share on social platforms to attract more leads? What can I post to attract more clients? Here are some of my recommendations that have worked extremely well for me. Sharing your successes, sharing your learnings, sharing some recent projects, sharing your testimonials, sharing work in progress, and sharing project insights as well. So as you can see over here on LinkedIn, I actively post updates about the projects that I work on, the clients that I work on, the testimonials that the clients leave me on my Google business account. I post it onto LinkedIn. So I repurpose all this great information of positivity and great work and great success on all my social platforms because I'm creating this viral loop of getting my great content in front of potential clients. So over time, when they hear more and more about me and I become memorable and they remember me as a positive freelancer or agency owner, they will get in touch when they actually think about hiring someone for UI and UX design work. So now that you got an idea of how to get started in terms of just your personal branding without overcomplicating it, you just need a consistent personal visual brand, which is a portrait shot, a color scheme, and some messaging. Then you need to think about, there's so many different social platforms, which 2 you want to focus on. And then once you've decided which 2 you want to focus on, I've already provided you all the tips and recommendations on different types of content that you can share every single week to really help build that consistency and also that brand awareness when people start to see your work over and over again. So now that you've got the right mindset, now that you've thought about your portfolio, you've built it on Webflow, you've also got a Dribble account to continue to build awareness about the great work that you do, you've also started to think about the personal brand, then you need to think about marketing. How do you leverage all these different social platforms like Dribble, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to generate more leads, to market yourself? So before we jump into the tactical insights, in terms of leads, there are 3 types of leads if you haven't heard about them. First, they start off as cold, then they become warm, and then they become hot. Now, what is a cold lead? A cold lead is a lead that really requires the most work to nurture and turn into an actual lead itself, a paying project, because they probably don't know anything about you. You could potentially have called them, cold emailed them, cold contacted them on LinkedIn. You could have met them at a meetup. It is someone or an opportunity that has no connection with you whatsoever. Then you have the warm lead. A warm lead is someone who potentially could be interested in your services. So for example, they might have subscribed to your newsletter. They potentially could have followed you on LinkedIn. They could potentially have visited your Dribble profile and followed you. They could have followed you on Behance. They could have left a comment on one of your LinkedIn posts and said, great work, we might have some work in the future for you. So this is deemed as a warm lead. And then you have hot leads, which I like to classify as a lead that you can close within 7 days. So generally they start warm, and then once they go hot, it means that they've actually contacted you directly through a DM, could be through your design portfolio, it could be through instant messaging, it could be some sort of method of contact where they intentionally contact you and say, hey, I would love to jump on a call to learn a bit more about your services, and I'd love to see if we can collaborate on a project. So these are the 3 types of leads that you need to focus on. And the reason why I'm explaining this to you is because the different types of platforms will allow you to generate different types of leads. So if you are a freelancer looking to generate leads right away, like instantly, then I would highly recommend you to focus on Upwork, freelancer.com, and SEO optimization. Why would I be recommending these 3? I'll give you guys a quick moment to think about this. So 3, 2, 1. These generate high intent clients and leads. So what do I mean by that? When someone is posting a job on freelancer.com or on Upwork, they have an intent to actually hire someone right away. Whenever the freelancer meets their requirements or needs, they are ready to put money down and get the job done. Similar with search engine optimization, which does require a lot of upfront work, but when someone searches for Sydney UX design agency or Sydney web designer into Google, they are already finding and wanting to find a designer for their project. And when they contact someone, they are ready to put the money down. The only thing that they're trying to figure out is this designer the right fit for their project? So if you're looking to get leads right away, you need to make sure you focus on the marketplaces and also the search engines, because that's where people find direct designers right away. Then you have the warm leads. These are people who are still browsing, then don't have the intent to hire right away, but they are starting the research phase of finding a designer. So I would highly recommend Dribbble, Behance, local Facebook groups. So if you live in, for example, New York, if you typed in New York startups in Facebook, I am sure you will find lots of local groups on Facebook groups where founders, entrepreneurs come together to talk about business. And within these groups, you will find a lot of founders are actually looking for design work. So for example, I'm from Sydney, Australia, and there is a very large group of well over 13,000 founders called Sydney Startups. And every single day, there are new founders looking for designers to help them with their projects. So this is the prime real estate if you're looking for warm leads. Dribbble, Behance, Facebook groups, and also LinkedIn are a great place to share your work, share your successes, share your learnings, share a lot of insights into the work that you do, such as on LinkedIn posts, to really get the attention of potential founders who want to hire you. Then if you want to target cold leads, which doesn't really make sense if you're a freelancer, but if you do want to get yourself out there to really maximize your opportunity to get more leads, meetups, network events, cold contacting founders on LinkedIn are also very, very effective ways to get yourself out there, to build awareness about your personal brand, and really to build strong relationships as well. Because generally, when it comes to business, having face-to-face engagements is a way to build trust. And hands down, it is always better than a quick message or a Zoom call. So if you're looking to start marketing and to get yourself out there, you really need to understand, what type of leads am I looking for? Do I want to get work right away? Am I at a place where I'm happy to invest upfront time to really build a stronger online presence? Because then that would mean that you should focus more on the warm leads. But if you feel like you just want to really get yourself out there, then targeting all three types of leads, hot, warm, and cold, and just doing every single thing to get yourself out there is going to maximize your chances of landing a job. Then the last thing is about pricing. So you've got the right mindset, you've got the portfolio, you've got the personal brand, you've got the marketing distribution now, you've got yourself out there, you're posting good stuff, sharing your work. Then you need to figure out, how do I price when a potential client actually reaches out to me? Now, what you should not be doing is something that I want to talk about. When you first get out as a freelancer, your ultimate goal is to not maximize your rates. You do not want to try to lose out and miss out on great opportunities because you're trying to make a quick buck. Remember, freelancing is a long-term strategy and it's a long-term business. No one goes out to try to make sales right away. You need to deliver value, people need to find value in you, and when you can genuinely create value for someone or a business, they're bound to tell other people. So there is a lot of upfront investment and cost that you need to put ahead to make sure you're doing freelancing right. So when you first come out, do not try to maximize your rates. Instead, maximize your experiences. What do I mean by that? What you want to do is you really want to, if you even have to, reduce your rates by 50%. And if you are a junior designer, it also makes sense to do some free pro bono work as well, just so you can create leverage, just so you can start building your client networks, just so you can have one additional client who will be sharing the great word about your services. One thing I like to tell the people that I mentor is the power of one. When you are a freelancer, you are the only one who is talking about your services. Once you start to build a network, once you start to do good work for clients, whether it's for $100, $1,000, $10,000, it doesn't really matter, because each client that you work with is one extra person who is going to vouch for you. So this builds leverage, this builds social validation, which makes every future project for you to seal a little bit simpler every single time. So your focus is to really maximize your experience. So there is no one way to approach this. If it requires you to reduce your rate, if it requires you to do pro bono work, it doesn't matter. Once you have a clear focus that your goal is to not maximize your rates, but actually maximize your experience, you are going to figure out how to create strategies to get more work under your belt. Then if you already have a full-time role and you're looking to freelance on the side, what is the best way to price yourself? Now, I know people talk about value-based pricing, but that does not work when you just start out as a freelancer because you don't have leverage and you haven't had experience in freelancing. There is still a lot of stuff that you need to master before you can go down value-based pricing. So if you were just starting out, don't worry about value-based pricing. Don't worry about maximizing your rates. Just focus on getting experience. So to really simplify your pricing strategy, grab your annual salary and divide it by 2,080 billable hours. And the reason why I say this is because, one, you already know that the place that is employing you has already valued you at a specific amount per year. So let's say every single year you get a salary of $10,000. Now, if you divide that entire salary by all the hours that you work in the business, you will get your hourly rate. Now, without overthinking it and trying to overcomplicate it, just start with this number. Now, if you struggle to even close one lead with this hourly rate, then you will realize that there is a bigger problem to be solved. So just getting started and just getting yourself out there and just closing your first deal is your primary goal. And to simplify it, just grab your yearly salary and divide it by all the billable hours within the year. Now, if you don't have a full-time role and you're thinking about freelancing, I personally, and I have said this multiple times, that I wouldn't recommend anyone to freelance full-time if you have not had full-time experience, because ultimately you are digging yourself into a hole and you don't have the exposure, experience, or leverage to be able to seal larger deals moving forward. However, if you do want to freelance full-time and you don't have a full-time role or experience, then I will highly recommend you to get started by just looking at the average hourly rate for designers in your country. And you can find these insights on glassdoor.com. By simply looking up for the specific role, you'll be able to find the average salaries for a role that you're looking for, and you can simply divide it by 2,080 billable hours, and that would give you a starting rate. Now, once again, I know that value-based pricing is a very effective strategy, and I personally use it myself. But if you were just starting out, your potential clients will not understand how you even form the pricing strategy if you use value-based pricing, because you just don't have enough experience in doing so. So once again, start off with hourly, build the reputation, build the networks, build a personal brand, and when you have more equity in your personal brand and in your company, then you can start to think about how you can value the pricing moving forward. So ultimately, if you want to get started into freelancing, I have broken down step by step on exactly how you can get started right away. And I have also provided you guys a 4-week plan so you can get started literally within 4 weeks. So the first week, I want you to simply think about your personal brand, buy a domain, and decide on which platform you are going to build your design portfolio on. Week 2, start curating the design portfolio and really think about getting the photos, getting the color scheme, getting the work, getting all the content up there, and really think about how do you put your best foot forward. And once again, if you need inspiration, I have done countless UX design portfolio reviews, so make sure to check the link in the description below to learn more about that. Then week 3, I want you to decide on 2 social platforms that you are going to invest into to really start to market and build your personal brand. And week 4 is to just get started and go to battle. So what I want you guys to do is use the content types that I have provided you as for inspiration, create some posts that you can share with your audience, and then just start posting on the social platforms that you've decided to use so you can start to build that personal brand, build that audience, and build that engagement and build that awareness about the work that you do. And if you are looking for immediate leads, remember, target the platforms that give you hot leads right away. So Upwork and freelancer.com are a great place to start. So guys, hopefully you found this extremely tactical and extremely practical, and I will see you in another video very soon.